My name's Sam Boone, and I'm going to be talking about the online performance recording service that we offer through the Signet database, signetdata.com. Performance recording beef cattle is really important. It's a great way to create a permanent and cumulative lift in performance, and it's really important that we're able to select the animals with the best genetics within our herd to be used in breeding in the future generations, whether that's for terminal sire traits or for maternal traits. So this presentation explains how pedigree breeders can record that data with Signet in order to make use of our genetic analyses. So what do recording breeders do? Well, principally they supply information at calving time so that we know about the mum and dad, date of birth, sex, and then optionally information about birth weight and calving ease. They're then asked to weigh animals roughly every 100 days and assign those to a management group so that we know which animals have been reared together and which might have been reared differently. Breeders also have the option to record ultrasound scanning using our technician services and to record cow weights. And I'm just going to talk about some of the screens that breeders can use to collect that data. So once they're logged on to the Signet database, you've got a range of options, and most of the data entry options sit under the data menu at the top. So the first thing that you need to do is to log in, and that would mean putting in the email address that you've provided to Signet. We then match that email address to your herd records, and that's the thing that tells us that these are your animals and that you're entitled to provide calving information for them. The first time that you log on, if you put in your email address and you're all set up with us, then just simply click Forgotten Password and it will enable you to reset your password, and then you're good to go. So in terms of calving information, if you go to the calving screen, you've got the option. The first thing is to get the sires set up. So if you click the little green button that says Edit Breeding Sires List, it'll take you through to this page and you select the breed of interest and then you start typing in the sire identity. Now you've got to use exactly the same identity that we use for the UK ministry tag. So that means putting in spaces and dashes in exactly the format shown. But if you put that information in, then in the drop down menu below, you'll see animals listed that meet those criteria. Click on one of those animals, add it through to the list, and you'll see him appearing on the screen. And at that point, you can save the list, or you can go forwards and add another animal onto that list. So you keep saving, and then when you're finished, if you click on calving form at the top right, it will take you back to the calving page. So we've got sires in our drop-down list at the top. Then to put in the dams, it's the same principle, typing in the dams number with the same spaces and slashes that are shown here. And again, you'll see the animals, just the cows that are live in your herd. So it'll be a much smaller list of animals that are eligible to appear. And from the drop-down menu, you can click on the animals of interest. Having selected sire and dam, it's relatively simple to enter date of birth, whether it's a single or a twin, number of live calves. If she's had a dead calf, then we still want to know about that. And then if it's natural service, fine. But if you've used AI or embryo transfer, if you select that from the box below, then you'll ask for additional information about recipient dams and also AI dates. So that's all the information you need to put in the cow's calving record. Having clicked submit, it takes you to the next page where you can put in the calf's details. So these are mostly self-evident. Put in the name of the calf. You can leave the prefix off. We'll do that automatically. Herd book number if you wish. Sex of the animal. Birth weight in kilograms would be good. And then a calving ease score. Now, calving ease is on a sort of a 6-point score, really. If it's unobserved, we'll then record it as such. If there's no assistance, then record it as such. And then if there's varying levels of assistance that are required, right the way through to having a cesarean, then that information can be recorded there. And finally, if the calf has been fostered off, you've got the opportunity to record that at the same point. So that's the information that you need to create the calving record. You'd then click Create, and it would take you through and tell you that you've successfully submitted records for that calf. And actually, if you click on the green text for either the dam or the calf, it will take you off onto another page, and you can actually study that record if you wanted to double check the information that you'd put in. So that's how to actually put a new calf onto the system. If for any reason the sire or dam wasn't showing or wasn't on the drop-down menu, just drop us an email. They might need setting up in the database, or the cows might need transferring into your herd, or even bringing back to life on occasions, and we can do that for you. With the Sussex Cattle Society, it's quite handy that you can then go to the reports section, and under birth notifications, you can select an age range of animals of interest. You can select the sex, and you can select whether you want to send all or just the live ones, and then you can create an Excel file to send back through to the Sussex Cattle Society. So that avoids the need for breeders to enter the data in two different places. You can send it all to Signet, and then you can send it on to your society. That might well work for other breed societies as well. I don't know. So in terms of weighing, typically we're saying to people, provide a weight every 100 days. If you want to weigh them more frequently than that, you certainly can do. We use the weights to create an adjusted weight in the background, and the two important ones are the 200-day adjusted weight and the 400-day adjusted weight. So to qualify for one of these adjusted weights, you must weigh within the window shown. So 30 days before or 100 days after the actual allotted weight will enable you to get an adjusted weight on the system. Now, I've been thinking a bit about this for some of our herds and seeing when that weighing actually falls. For spring calving herds, then you probably want to be weighing those cattle towards the end of the summer, maybe when they're coming in from pasture, because I realise not everyone is going to be weighing cattle when they're out at grass. And for the autumn calving herds, well, think about weighing those as they head out onto pasture to get a weight for those animals. And for 400-day adjusted weight, probably it's the other way around. So the spring calving herds, if they weigh the cattle on the way out, then they'll get a weight in the right window. And for the autumn calving herds, then weighing them on the way in the autumn, again, will get them a qualifying adjusted weight. So I think probably the main message is weigh any opportunity that you can and provide that information. And certainly if you're about to put the cattle out, and they're not going to be near weigh scales over the summer, then grab a weight before you do that, and then weigh them immediately as they come back in from pasture, and that will help to get weights in the right windows. In terms of putting data onto the database, again, going to the data section, there's a drop-down menu under beef weights, and you select cattle weight young stock from the drop-down options. This will list the young animals within your herd, and then you simply can add the weight and the weigh date to that particular screen. The nice thing is that you can actually select the order that you wish animals to appear, either based on their ID or their sex. So you can have them either purely in ID order, in which case the sexes will be mixed, or you can sort them by sex prior to that, so that the males and females are listed separately. The other thing that you can do is, if they've all been weighed in one day, put the global measurement date at the top, so you don't have to enter the weight multiple times. It will put that in for you. So weight, weigh date are self-explanatory. In terms of management group, you'll see some drop-down menus coming through. Depending on whether that animal is going to be getting a 200 or a 400-day group code, and you've got some options. People can get quite excited about which option to actually use to represent the groups. In actual fact, the narrative doesn't matter greatly. The important thing is if you've got a group that have had commercial management or show management, or you've got maybe a bunch that have just been treated as stores and another group that have been pushed on, we must identify that they've been reared in a different way so that the analysis knows the differences are the amount of feed they've had in front of them, not due to their genetics. So the key bit is to use different groups, numbers for the different groups. I'm not too excited as to which actual group you assign them. The analysis is just looking for a difference. And certainly if you've got animals that happen to have been weaned, but you're only getting the early group codes relating to whether they're suckling their cow or suckling the cow with creep, don't worry too much. Again, the important bit is to just make sure they're in different groups. You can also use this screen for selling an animal off. So if it's no longer in your herd, then you can change the status right on the end. The nice thing about these new screens is you can go back into the animal record and look at the data. So you'll see a chart showing the growth over time. You'll see the 200 and the 400-day adjusted weights are also published on that. So always good to check weights. And obviously quite important before you start any of this process, just to calibrate your scales as well. So maybe if you've got a 25 kilo bag of feed, throw that onto the scales, check that it registers 25 kilos, just to make sure that we're getting good data coming in. Some of the larger herds will also make use of ultrasound scanning. So here we've got a Signet technician. He's measuring muscle depth across the loin using ultrasound at the deepest point, and then taking various measures of fat depth within the carcass so we can assess relative fatness and leanness of that animal. So that's an additional service that we provide. Typically animals are between 300 and 500 days of age to get that surface. We'll weigh them again on the day and then take these measures of muscle and back fat, and that allows us to select animals on the basis of carcass traits. If you're interested in that service, then probably the best thing to do is to go onto the Signet website. Under the contact menu, there's a sub-menu that says contact details, and you'll find the details for all of our technicians there. So you can find someone in your area, give them a ring, find out what it will cost, and find out when they're likely to be passing. I've talked a lot about growth and carcass traits. We shouldn't forget that this is very important to be thinking about breeding better cows as well. So that's about animals that reach puberty at the desired weight, getting calf each year, calve without any assistance, and have a long productive life on the farm, particularly with low annual running costs as well associated with her. So to understand a bit more about actually the efficiency of our suckler cows, it's quite important to understand her weight and thus her energy and feed requirements. One of the best ways of doing that is to actually collect information on cow weights. So here we've got some cows listed. You can see on the screen the last time they were weighed, and you can see when they were weighed. And here you've got the option to put that data in for your cows, which typically we take at weaning time. You also got the option to record body condition score. So that's a separate drop-down menu that's available. And then the management groups, we just have three. So commercial management, standard pedigree management, and show management, to enable you to split the herd if the cows have been looked after differently during that time. And it's another opportunity if you want to sell some off, again, you can do it on that form. A couple of final forms that you can complete online. One is the census. So again, under the data menu, head to census, select the animals of interest that you want to review, and then a screen will be pulled up and you can mark them down as either sold or dead. And if you wish to give a reason, you can do that at that moment in time. And you've also got the option to name cattle. So there's a name/register menu because some of our sheep breeds can actually register through this screen as well. But in the case of cattle, we're just looking to get them named. I can see those in this example already have names, but if you wanted to make a change or you wanted to add a name, then that's the screen to do it through, and that's very easy to do. So in terms of new herds, getting started, simply contact Signet. We can ping you a contract through. That'll cover some of the GDPR issues and explain how we're going to use your data. We'll then get the herd set up on the database and we'll get your records included. So all the cows are listed, ready to go. Log in once we've set you up. and you can then check your records and you're good to go.